Russell Robinson Water Well Service, the well man here, guys. So we got over here on this one, and last week we changed the WJ, the gauge, and we came back this week. They wanted us to go ahead and fix the little problem they had here, so we replaced the well seal and this whole top unit over to the check valve. They had a old rubber clamp and a hose all on it, and it was dripping water. Told them it needed to be replaced, guys. They also had this little doohickey right here on top of it. That's some old school service guy did years ago, rigging that up on top of it. So I got asked a question on why do we use galvanized tanks or glass line tanks versus bladder tanks. You can use either or, it just depends on which way you want to run the system. So when you're hooking up to a galvanized tank, we have high water tables around here, around 40 foot. So plus we have sulfur, that's the air vent and back through the well casing, just in case everybody hears that. But we have a lot of sulfur in our water here, so when you're hooked up to a galvanized tank, guys, what happens is you take the check valve out of the water well pump. So when you take the check valve out of the water well pump, what happens is this pump pressures up and kicks off. You can hear it right through the Schrader valve. How it's sucking. What's happening is the water goes in, pump kicks off. Right now the check valve closes, water's falling back down the water table, and it's pulling air in through this Schrader valve. When this pump comes back on, when it reaches 40, you're going to hear the air bubbles go into this tank and put air into the tank. So that's what these systems are used, mainly made for, so that it'll help clear out the sulfur gas in these tanks instead of using a bladder tank. So when you use a bladder tank, you hook up totally different. You have to leave the check valve in the pump. We always put a check valve up top too, just for our pressure switch to hold on. That way it just traps all the sulfur in. So anything that goes into a bladder tank comes straight out of a bladder tank, guys. We can do this system here because we have really high water tables. So, 40 foot and it pushing air in each time. It's not, pushing a lot of air in that it can't handle. So they maintain themselves very well like this, guys. So that's the difference between a galvanized tank, glass line tank, compared to a bladder tank, guys. So bladder tanks will cause your water to have more of a smell to it if you have sulfur in the water, because what goes into that tank doesn't mix with oxygen, goes straight to the house. Where with a galvanized tank, you see the pump every time it comes on, it's putting air into the tank on its own, and the sulfur gas will go to the top, and you won't have the strong smell of sulfur, guys. So that's the difference between a galvanized tank and a bladder tank. It's completely two different hookups though. So we have folks who try to go in, take out their galvanized tank, put a bladder tank in. You absolutely cannot do that, because if you do that, then you have to go down, pull the pump out, put a check valve back in there, put everything back in. So two different types of hookups here, and that's the difference, guys. Russell Robinson Water Well Service. As you see, we got the vent tube on. We cleared the conduit over to it now, and these folks are good to go with a new well seal and done up right. So Russell Robinson Water Well Service, on to the next one.